Great. So thank you so much for joining us today for the spring edition of Women's Empowerment Principle Induction webinar. My name is Miwa Park, and I am the WEPs coordinator at UN Women's WEPs Global Secretariat. And this webinar has been designed to guide the WEPs signatories who are new or would like to fresh up your memory on the WEPs and utilizing WEPs.org website and guide you through how to become a more active WEPs signatory. So we hope today's session can help you with your WEPs journey. So here's today's agenda. First, we will hear some opening remarks from Anna Falt. She's the Global Head of WEPs Secretariat at UN Women, and she will kick us off with her opening remarks and WEPs recap. Then I'll be the main person leading today's session through the WEPs tools and WEPs how-tos to answer frequently asked questions by our signatories. So please feel free to write your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen throughout the webinar. And if you'd like to communicate with other participants, please use the chat function as you are doing great right now. Your questions will be answered during the Q&A session or throughout the chat, throughout the webinar. And we also want to hear from you, so we prepared a small survey at the end of the webinar. So please kindly fill it out on your way out. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and later will be uploaded to WEPs.org website to be shared with web signatories later on. With that, I will hand it over to Anna to kick us off. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Miwa, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and very warm welcome to all of you. It's really my pleasure to convene this WEPs induction session together here with Miwa with such a diverse and committed group of companies. I see you are coming from, I heard Mexico, I saw Nepal and Ghana and from all over the world. So welcome, welcome everyone. And just let me start by congratulating you for joining the Women's Empowerment Principles community. By becoming a signatory, your CEO has made a public commitment to advance gender equality and women's empowerment, not only in your own organization, but across your value chains and the communities you operate in. This is a bold and meaningful step. We are also aware that some of you have just joined, whereas others have been a signatory for a while, and we are trying to cater today's content for all of you. But don't feel shy, questions are important, and this is the opportunity for us to ask, for you to ask all those questions and for us to try to answer them all. As you know, the WEPs provide a comprehensive framework grounded in international labor and human rights standards to help you integrate gender equality into business strategy and operations. The 7 principles cover key areas that we'll go over today, but WEPs shouldn't be seen as a checklist. In fact, the principles are about transforming the way we do business, embedding gender equality into the DNA of decision-making, performance metrics, and company culture. So today's session is designed to help you better understand what this commitment means in practice, what is expected of you, what support is available from us, and how you can turn intent into action. So you'll hear about tools and resources and support available to you. Most importantly, you'll see that you're not alone. This is a community of practice, learning, and mutual accountability. Your journey starts here, and we are excited to support you every step on the way. Thank you again for your leadership, and welcome to the WEPs community. As the next step, I'll just reiterate a little bit what those 7 principles are about. We have clustered them into 5 pillars. The first one, which covers Principle 1, high-level corporate leadership, is about corporate governance and leadership, both women and male leadership. Whereas the workplace, where we also have women-specific leadership that we want to advance women's leadership, is covered in the workplace pillar and also Principle 2, to treat all women and men fairly at work without discrimination, employee health, well-being, and safety, and the principle 4, which is about education and training for career advancement. In fact, the principle 4 can be leveraged also in the marketplace. So the marketplace covers issues of supply chain, fostering non-stereotypes and discrimination in media, marketing, and advertising. And that's also where education is very important for in the marketplace to help suppliers to supply better, for market participants to support better on gender equality. So education piece is important there, as well as it is in the community pillar, which is engagement of women and girls and other important and strategic groups in local communities, where we see many of our WEP signatories actually promoting education and training in new areas where eventually they would like to see a talent pool joining their company, or across the board. So that could be companies that are working on technology and digital literacy with local communities, or financial literacy, and many other important areas as we see the world advancing. So the principle 5 is the marketplace, 6 is the community, and 7 is the one that I find the most important, because without having measurements, tracking, and reporting in place, you would not see the progress that you're making on the other principles. So this framework is important, and we encourage you to also explore our resources that cover many of these different areas. You are, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a box-ticking exercise, it's actually a journey. So now when you are signatories, you have moved from the consider stage to the signing stage, and you are probably in the activation stage. And activation is where we encourage you all to embed the WEPs into the DNA of your company, as I mentioned earlier, in the corporate culture, in the performance metrics and accountability of your staff, and in business strategy and operations. So this, we see this activate, and that's also where we hear from many companies that they want to start internally, and activate is exactly that, to activate all of the stakeholders that you have within the company to help you carry this message forward. Then engage is to engage with external partners. And that might be your suppliers, your business partners. It might be, even if you're an investor, to engage with your investees, to also make sure that you build an ecosystem around yourself and your company that fosters these values of gender equality and women's empowerment. As mentioned earlier, sustain is a very important area. That's where you start making sure that you're sustaining the effort, that it's not just ticking a box, we've done an event and that's it. No, sustaining effort is very important. And a good way to do that is by tracking progress and achievements on the way. And finally, reporting is also important to show and analyze the data that you're collecting to see where you are heading. And reporting to those stakeholders, both internally, to the board and to external audience as well, which fosters accountability again, to be transparent fosters accountability. And we will talk a little bit later also how that looks like for the WEPs initiative. So you're also welcome to, we really encourage you to report on in various ways on our websites as well. Finally, before I hand it back over to Miwa, we have a range of resources for you. In fact, it has been building up, so we now have about over 250 different resources on different topics, different themes of gender equality, different types of formats. So we have case studies, we have templates, we have a range of different things. And As you will see, we have now so many that we are actually going to put an additional filter in the next week or so that you can also filter by principle and by theme. So this is how we operate. We listen to you and we make tweaks to make it easier for you to find what you're looking for to help you on your WEPs journey. So I will hand it over here to Miwa to take you through a little bit more depth on what it is that we have to offer to you. Thank you so much, everyone, and thanks for joining today.
Thank you, Anna, for the opening remarks and walking us through the 7 principles of the WEPs and tools. So now I'll take the stage to guide you through some suggested first steps for new signatories. But of course, if you have signed prior, of course, you're welcome to start these steps. So here's our gender equality action tool for those who are starting out the WEPs journey. So first, we want you to measure your gaps and areas of opportunity through a different assessment tool, such as the WEPs Gender Gap Analysis tool or Gender Responsive Procurement Assessment tool, for those who are interested in focusing specifically on your supply chain and marketplace. Then we have Gender Action Plan module and template that helps WEPs signatories to create and update the Gender Action Plan. Then we have various other tools that Anna mentioned to support your company's WEPs implementation to advance gender equality and women's empowerment in your workplace, marketplace, and beyond. So the first one is Gender Gap Analysis tool. So we encourage companies to take this tool to assess the company's strategic approach to gender equality, identify gaps and opportunities for continuous improvement, and more importantly, with the result, you can set concrete goals, targets, and measures your progress over time. This tool is business-driven as it was developed in consultation with more than 170 different companies. The questions are based on real-life company practice, international standards, and indicators. The topics include gender equality strategy, equal pay, recruitment, supporting parents and caregivers, women's health and safety, inclusive sourcing, advocacy for gender equality in communities of operation. So basically 5 pillars of the WEPs. It's a free, user-friendly, and strictly confidential online platform. It consisted of 18 different questions across that spreads across 4 teams in leadership, workplace, marketplace, and community. So upon finishing the analysis, you'll be given a different level from beginner to leader, beginner, improver, achiever, and leader. And you can access the tool through the QR code on the screen. And we hope you utilize this tool and use the result to create gender action plan. So we have the next tool is Gender Responsive Procurement Assessment tool. So we have since companies putting increased importance on their supply chain. And here's a tool for you to build your action plan specifically dedicated to supply chain. So this tool is another self-assessment tool for WEPs signatories to assess their progress on their gender-responsive procurement policies and practices. So this tool helps companies to advance gender equality in their marketplace by providing opportunity to assess if the company's procurement policies and practices are gender responsive. So we have been encouraging our signatories to take it, and even further, we've been encouraging their suppliers to take this to create an impact for the whole ecosystem. So GRP assessment tool comprises of 31 questions covering these 5 main themes. The first one is gender equality commitments, procurement policy and strategy, third on internal procurement and supply chain management department, and fourth one is on supplier database and data reporting, and supplier engagement and diversification. So based on the data you provide, you will be receiving a scorecard that highlights your gaps and areas for improvement, very similar to the gap analysis tool from the beginner to improver, achiever to leader. So the data that you're entering into the self-assessment tool will be treated strictly confidential, and the result will never be linked back to an individual company or divulged to the public. So you can feel free to fill them in without worrying that your data will be somehow revealed. So you can access the tool here through the QR code. So now that you've measured your baseline and your area, your gaps and your areas of improvement, it's time for you to create a gender action plan. So we have a gender action plan module designed to help signatories on how to develop a successful organization-wide gender action plan that advances gender equality and women's empowerment, not only within the workplace, but throughout the company's workplace, marketplace, and community. So this module sits under WEPs.org website's WEPs Learn platform. And actually for this one, you will receive a certificate upon completion, and you can access the module here. So I believe it takes around an hour for you to complete this module. And you can take the gender action plan template to create a gender action plan based on the module that you just completed. And this template will help you to set different goals, targets, KPIs for each WEPs principles, and you'll be able to set up a plan on your target, timeline, and even assign owner to each items on the list. The template is available for signatories only, and you can download once you log into the platform, and I'll tell you how to do that later in this webinar. The next one is transparency and accountability framework. And Anna mentioned the importance of measuring to measure your track your progress and your achievement. So this can be a helpful tool for companies that want to measure, track, and report on their progress. And some of them are already reporting publicly on our website, while others are reporting only to UN Women internally. And this framework provides company with a holistic set of indicators that are the most likely to advance gender equality across corporate value chains aligned with existing corporate gender equality frameworks. There are 5 types of indicators, and they're designed to provide companies on indicators for workplace, marketplace, and community. So since 2020, new applicants or new signatories to the WEPs are required to share 3 to 4 baseline indicators, depending on if you're an asset owner or not. You have probably filled those out to become a WEP signatory if you are a very recent signatory. So we are collecting data on percentage of women employees, percentage of women at management level, percentage of women on boards, executives and partners. And if your company is an asset owner, you get an additional question that asks the percentage of women on your investment committees. Then once you become a signatory, we are encouraging you to report on 8 essential indicators. Those are not mandatory, but you are encouraged to report on your progress, and I will go through them one by one later in today's presentation. So moving on to the next session. So here I'll introduce some practical information for your WEPs journey based on top 3 frequently asked questions to the Secretariat. The first one is, of course, how to create an account to manage your company's profile, and what to do if my profile is old, meaning that you signed up prior to 2020, and how to report on your company's progress. So let's dive right into it. So there are a range of things you can do on WEPs.org as a logged in user. And by creating WEPs account, you can manage your profile page without emailing the Secretariat back and forth and download resources that are available to signatories only. So becoming a WEPs signatory does not automatically create login account for you to use it on the WEPs.org website. You need to first create an account to log into your WEPs account. So you can use any of the 3 emails that you have provided during the WEPs application process. Those emails were your CEO's primary and secondary email. You cannot use any other emails at this stage, but I'll show you how to you can add additional emails later on. And I'll show you step-by-step guide on creating login credentials for WEPs.org. So first, you have to go to our website, www.weps.org, and click on this sign in red button at the top right corner. And then once you're there, scroll down and click on the red button called Sign Up Now. This will take you to the registration page where you can create your account. Again, fill out the registration form. You have to use one of the emails that you have provided when you apply to become a WEPs signatories. Other email addresses would not work at this stage. Once you put your email address and click on Send Verification Code button, you will then receive a verification code in your email inbox. Please use that code to continue with the registration process. So basically, when you become a signatory, the system gives you an account, but you need to validate the email you included in your application and create a unique password to log into the actual website. But if you have any questions, any clarification, feel free to ask us in the Q&A, and we'll be able to answer those. And for those who have same email address domain as your company's email domain, they can actually create login credential, but to access resources and GRP tool only, and they'll not be able to manage the company's profile page as a manager or editor. So that's why we said any other emails wouldn't work at this stage, but because as a manager function. I hope that's clear. And then after you're done, you can immediately log in and use your account. To see the page like the one shown on the screen, you can click on My Account button at the top right corner of the page, and you can see what you could do, either edit your company profile, take the GRP assessment tool, or start reporting, and more functions will be added in the future. So let me give you a bonus tip once you have your initial account up and running. So you can click on Edit Company Profile page, and then go there, scroll down until you see this function, Extra Email. You can create login account using that extra email that you've added by going through the same process I just explained after you've entered extra email. These people should be able to manage your account as well as yourself or whoever, that 3 emails that you provided. So now moving on to the second question, updating your WEPs profile. So we do get a lot of requests from companies who joined prior to 2020 on accessing their company profile page. Long story short, due to system changes, if you signed up prior to 2020, your profile may not be available online and it needs to be updated. The easiest way is for you to fill out the online join form again, and we will honor the original join date when doing so. In this case, please indicate that you're re-signing or trying to update your profile in your application process so that we can help you specifically. Before we move on to the next question, we actually wanted to launch a quick poll to hear from you. So let me do that. Let me find a function. Okay, launch. So we wanted to ask you 2 things today. So are you tracking and measuring your progress on gender equality? And for which WEPs pillar would you require support from UN Women to improve your WEPs implementation and progress tracking? For this second question, you can select that all apply. So I'll give you a couple of minutes for you to respond. So I'm seeing a couple of not sures as well. So if you're not sure that your company is tracking and monitoring, could you tell us why in the chat so we can understand these answers a little better? Thank you, and I'll have some coffee meanwhile. Thank you. Okay. And I'm seeing some questions on the chat, but it'll be difficult for us to answer it. So if you don't mind, if you could ask your questions in the Q&A function, we will be able to get to those questions easier. Then I'll give you a couple of more seconds.
I see, Miwa, there's a few questions about recording. So maybe you could just reiterate that message.
Yeah, so we will be recording this webinar and share it on our website, and we can share the slides then as well. So we actually have a okay, we actually have comment. We're a very small company. We're still putting out best practices in written form instead of how it's done. No, that's a great place to start. And what I will iterate in my next page is, it doesn't matter the size of your company, but you can start somewhere and you can create your gender action plan. And this is applicable for companies in any sector and any sizes, not only for big companies to work on, but also for other companies as well. Sorry. now we got we got a lot of answers, so I'm going to end the poll. Thank you so much for those who participated. And then I'll see if I can share the results. Can you see the result, Anna?
I I think so, but I don't know if it is
No
because
worries, I will go over
I
them.
do see, yeah, I don't know if
Perfect.
it is because I'm the co-organizer or if
Perfect. No, thank you,
Mm.
participant, for organizing. Sometimes
Yeah.
hosts have a different functionality than the participants, so it's hard for us to see. But thank you. But we had yes, around 60% of the respondents, no, 25%. So some are a lot are measuring and tracking, but some are not sure and some are not measuring. And we got that you need some requirement and support on corporate governance and leadership, workplace, but also marketplace, community, and transparency and accountability. So basically throughout all the WEPs principles that we could support you from. No, thanks for participating. These are very interesting, and we'll make sure to incorporate your answers into our next webinar materials and our resources that we will be coming up in the future. So then those who are already reporting, great, and who haven't been reporting, here are some motivation for you. So why should you report on your progress? First, most importantly, reporting allows companies to uphold their commitment to gender equality in the workplace, marketplace, and community, and your corporate governance and leadership. You have made great first step by signing on to the WEPs, but as you probably record, as Anna said, you're not done. You're on the WEPs journey, and you are expected to continuously work towards that goal of advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. And reporting helps you to guide you and motivate you to do better. And second, setting up targets provide benchmarks and KPIs for companies to follow on their WEPs journey. Companies may feel that they're lost, but these indicators could provide some tangible goals to achieve and a direction to pursue. And companies can check up on their progress by collecting data and measuring the progress. In addition, reporting is good for companies externally as well. At the Secretariat, we have been called more and more from the investors as they're taking a closer look at the company's progress on their ESG status, including gender equality and women's empowerment indicators. So investors are now realizing that gender equality is a matter for not only S of the social pillar of the ESG, but also G, governance, as gender equality could bring risks to governance of the company, and it's a tangible threat or risk for return on investment. So show your progress by transparently reporting on your progress on advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. And last, other stakeholders, that could be your potential employees, business partners, your suppliers, consumers, and more, are checking the company's status on gender equality. Again, transparency is key to communicate with other stakeholders, and this is your way of being more sustainable and being more competitive in the market by showing that you are working towards advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. So as I mentioned earlier today, there are 8 essential indicators that the WEPs team is encouraging companies to report on their progress. So these indicators only include workplace pillars, and we are in the progress of updating the indicators to include different pillars as well. But let me walk you through one by one. So the first 3 are baseline indicator, meaning that these are required for you to fill out when you are joining the WEPs network. But of course, you can report on your progress over time on how your company is progressing. So the first indicator, percentage of women and men employees as a percentage of total number of employees. Employees include, first, permanently contracted, and second, temporarily contracted workers, such as seasonal workers, on a full-time equivalent basis. And to calculate the percentage of full-time equivalent employees that are women, count the total number of full-time equivalent women employees and divide this number by the total number of full-time equivalent employees. The same calculation can be done for men employees. Second, percentage of men and women in senior management position as a percentage of total number of senior managers in the organizations. So senior managers are defined as full-time equivalent employees at C-suite level or equivalent, example manager, managing directors, and partners. To calculate percentage of senior management who are women, you should divide the number of women senior managers by total number of senior managers. Third, percentage of women and men on company board. Board members are defined as board members who are playing an active role on the board. And to calculate the board members who are women, you should divide the number of women on the board by the total number of board members. Then moving on to the other 5 indicators that are encouraged, the ratio of women's salary and men's salary. All the definition and how to calculate, you can find them on the guidance note, but I'm going through them so that you have a better and little clearer understanding. And I am mentioning this because we have been particularly seeing some misunderstanding on this indicator, especially. So some companies are not reporting correctly on this indicator. So let me explain you how to correctly report on these indicators. So women and men's salary include 3 components. The first one is fixed salary, a salary that person receives on a stable or fixed basis. That is, if the employee received the same amount every month or pay period. The second one is additional salary. That's a salary that an employee received on a temporary basis. For example, associated with performance or longer period of work or compensation for an expense that they had to incur. So this amount varies from month to month or period. And third is the variable salary, a salary that the employee receives in recognition for their performance or for overall result of the company or organization. So it's kind of a company-wide bonus type of thing. So calculate woman's salary by adding up all these 3 salaries and divide them by number of women. The same calculation should be performed for men. Then divide the average woman's salaries by average man's salaries. Then you will get the ratio of woman's salary to man's salary. Hope that was clear. If not, you can always go back to the guidance note or ask us any questions. Then this gets a little more simple. Percentage of newly hired full-time equivalent employees, women and men. New hires are defined as employee who has not previously been employed by the company, who has previously employed by the company but has not been separated from such prior employment for at least 60 consecutive days. So calculate this percentage of newly hired women employees. You should divide the number of new hired full-time women employees by the total number of full-time equivalent newly hired employees. And percentage of promotion and career opportunities. To calculate this, you should, let me reiterate. To calculate this, the percentage of promotions and career opportunities for women and men, this refers to the definition of employers and senior management that I just mentioned for the second indicator here. Then divide the ratio of full-time equivalent women in senior management by the ratio of full-time equivalent to women employees, and then divide that ratio of full-time men in senior management by the ratio of full-time men employees. I know it sounds a little tricky and little confusing, but when you're actually working on it, it gets easier. Here, the retention rate of women and men full-time equivalent employees who took parental leave. So parental leaves include maternity, paternity, parental, or adoption leave, and the retention rate is determined by employees retained in the company or organization 12 months after returning from their parental leave. So to calculate the retention rate of women, divide the total number of women employees retained in the company 12 weeks after returning to work following a period of parental leave by the total number of women employees taking the parental leave. Same calculations can be done for men who took paternity leave and who's retaining in the company. Then number 8 is an outcome indicator. It's a simple yes or no question. The company has a confidential anonymous grievance, resolution, reporting, and non-retaliation mechanism and procedure to address and respond to incidents of violence and harassment. Just simply click on yes or no. So you can learn about the metrics and the methodology on this guide, as I mentioned. This is the guide called WEPs Guide, How to Report on Your Progress. So that can be found on WEPs.org resource page, or you can simply access it through this QR code over here. So then with that said, let me move on to tell you on how to report on your progress online. So first, go to the WEPs.org website and click in the sign in button again at the top right corner. And hopefully you will have an account and you logged in. Then go to My Account by clicking on here. Then when you're in My Account page, click on the Start Your Reporting button. And you can report on your company's progress on indicator that you want to report on. So again, we are asking a range from a bigger range for this for the baseline indicators. As you can see, the indicators that do not have that do not have a red star thing next to it, no star thingy. This means that these are not mandatory field, and you can report on any of the indicators you want and do them either privately or publicly. So privately meaning you're only reporting to UN Women. So UN Women can only go in and see your result, but publicly means that you will be showing that result publicly to other companies and other web signatories. And then these are 8 indicators that I mentioned. The last one is an outcome indicator, yes or no. And you can add a link to your annual report or WEPs gender equality report on your profile now. Just make sure that make sure to select the year that you want to report on, and then add the direct link to the document here. And we want you to link us directly to the PDF or gender report or your WEPs report if you have one. So lastly, and very importantly, when you're done, please scroll down and click on Save button at the bottom of the page. So this is to show you how your profile page will look after you report publicly. So you will have this data underneath your basic profile page when you go into your profile page. So notice that the length of your report varies depending on how many indicators you choose to report on publicly and how your annual report looks like. So for instance, if you reported more than 2 years, you can compare your company's progress over time also. So it's going to show you the year before and the current year that you reported. So we hope to see more companies reporting this year, as we are emphasizing to companies to report on their progress, hopefully publicly this year. So here, to sum up today's webinar, here's a new resource that we developed to introduce 10 action points of a web signatory to follow. So now that you signed up, and what's next? So you can access this resource through QR code, because that will enable you to download this resource, and you can click on different segments to learn more about it. But basically, as a web signatory, these are steps that you could take. Again, create an account, we covered that. Access your maturity, that was the gender gap analysis tool, gender responsive procurement tool, and then communicate your commitment by reporting on your progress, engage with your partners, report annually. And of course, you can join our webinars like this one to invest in capacity building and training and more. But to make it a little more simpler, here's an even shorter version of how to become a more active web signatory. So first, most importantly, continue the web's journey internally and externally within your governance, workplace, marketplace, and community. And when doing so, track and report on your progress. Attend WEPs webinars, WEPs event in person, or even in virtually. And follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website on a regular basis. There you'll find new resources, new updates regarding WEPs community, and etc. And lastly, fill out the Global WEPs survey. We will be sending out a Global WEPs impact survey later this quarter to understand the maturity level of the web signatories, but also to understand what can we do better to better assist you or better support you with your WEPs journey. So please stay tuned and fill out the survey as well. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A section. I've talked a lot, and Anna will lead the Q&A session and later close today's session. So if you have any questions, we will take them. So Anna, over to you.
Yeah, we received a few questions. I'm wondering if maybe we can go back to that slide that has the gap analysis tool, the GRP tool, and the action plan, because there was one question on how they actually connected. The previous one more. That one, yeah, exactly. So somebody was asking the connection between these. And maybe I could just reiterate from this point, the WEPs gender gap analysis tool, to which you got a QR code, and you will also get this deck and the recording in your by email and on the website. This gap analysis tool is for you to assess where you are maturity-wise on gender equality within your company. Have you done X policy, practice, communication, transparency, etc.? So that goes through the substantive side of it. The gender responsive procurement assessment tool goes a little bit deeper into the marketplace and helps you understand how you can build a more inclusive supply chain. So those together you can use to then go to the gender action plan module, which captures the how to build an inclusive process in developing your gender action plan. And it has this template for the action plan. So look at it from a substantive point of view, and then from the process point of view, and then the gender action plan template will help you to put that in place with those different components. And then, of course, you have the wealth of other information and toolkits available to you to help you build a strong action plan. Then I saw that there was a question for SMEs. So I suggest that you do the gap analysis tool first to see. That's where you will see where you have strength and weaknesses and where you can where you need to make improvements. Based on that, you build your action plan, and then how do you then measure this? So it depends on where your strengths and weaknesses are, but to track your action plan, you need to have some overarching objectives. So what are you actually looking to achieve? Let's say you are in a renewable energy business, and you have 5% women in the company and you have 1% women leaders in company. You might say, oh, we need to be better at attracting women to the company and better at promoting women within the company. So your overarching goal might be to, in the action plan statement, is then to say, we would like to increase to attract 2% more women in 2025, let's say. Don't try to overachieve because it's better to take step by step and be successful rather than not meeting your objective. So then you say, how do I get there to actually attract more women to the company? So you might, and in fact, I don't know if we went through it today, Miwa, but we do have a gender responsive recruitment checklist, which is also to help you to understand how you can tap into other pools of talent than what you traditionally might be doing, and how you can attract more women to your company. It might involve a campaign that shows that women are welcome to this, something on social media, a social media card. So then you would kind of be able to break that down. If that overarching objective is to attract more women, you have to break it down in actions and track those actions. And then at the end of the year, see how successful were these actions to attract more women to the company. If you had 0 increase, then maybe for 2026, you need to look at other type of actions that might be more successful. It might also be what is part of the inclusive process is also to talk with potential talent, potential customers, clients, depending on what type of company you are, to really understand what would make them want to join your company and what standing and perception and reputation do you have in the market. So making it an inclusive process is very important to hear from various stakeholders, both internal and external. I hope that helps understand a little bit better how the action planning is, how that can be helpful. So I think there was another question on how to help companies report on their indicators. So I think, Miwa, you did go through them quite in depth, but we also have a document that I think there was a QR code as well, how to report on, exactly, thank you, Miwa, how to report on your progress. This one goes step by step, how the indicator is defined, the methodology to collect the data, and of course, we are here to also help you and support you.
I saw a question if the reporting is mandatory and if there is any deadline for fulfillment in the.
Yeah, so we actually, that's a very good segue to our survey. So maybe Miwa, you can talk a little bit about the survey that we will send out in the next week or so. But reporting is, I mean, there's no punishment. WEPs is a voluntary initiative, but we do strongly encourage you because it helps you also if you are transparent about your commitment and your progress. And there's no judgment in this community. We all know that it's very difficult to make progress and sustain the results. So reporting in principle is a great way to foster transparency and accountability, both for your company, but also for other around you. So in terms of the reporting cycle, since you're all kind of coming in at different times of the year, we encourage you to do it on an annual basis. So when you get into your 1-year anniversary as a web signatory, it is time to report. And we will start sending out reminders as well to everyone, so you know when your reporting time is up. But Miwa, maybe you could just mention something about the survey that we are doing.
Yes, sure. So the global survey is so WEPs is actually turning 15 years old this year. We were established in 2010 and now it's 2015. And to commemorate that, we thought it was time to assess the level of WEPs implementation throughout globally from different web signatories around the globe to try to help us understand what are the areas that web signatories are working on, and what are the areas they need support on, and what are the areas that UN Women could improve our approach to the companies to better serve companies to let's say advance gender equality and women's empowerment through the webs. So we are trying to launch it, and we have selected a couple of languages. So this will be available in different languages depending on availability. So I believe we'll be providing ones in Spanish, one in Portuguese, and some other languages, Chinese, and even I believe we have Turkish, depending on how many signatories that we have in the region. So we are trying to be as inclusive as possible in this process. And what we're trying to get from this survey is that this will be served as our baseline for 15 years forward. So what are we now? We're at 15 years. This is what we achieved. But how are we going to let's say work on our future 15-year? How can we be more relevant with this changing dynamics and changing context on gender equality and advancing women's empowerment in the changing context and etc. So this will be a great opportunity for us to hear from you. So make sure to fill out the survey. We're trying to make it as brief as possible, but also we want to get as much impact as possible. So we will try to make it brief for us to learn from you and hear from you. So I hope that was okay, Anna. But if you have anything to add, feel free to add something.
No, that was great. We welcome your participation in the survey once it's being disseminated so that we can better understand how we can help you. There is some other questions.
I can take this one on company's media assets. That's
Yes,
okay.
perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you, Miwa.
So someone asked if there is a template available for website integration. I think you wanted to use it for your social media and etc. If you have email signatures and etc. So we are currently developing a email signature for signatory, so that's on the way. But other materials are available in our welcome package, and there you can find the link to our Trello board. So you can go in. I'll try to find the link and share it on the chat so you can easily access it. But basically, we have a repository of WEPs resources that companies can use when rolling out that, oh, we've signed on to the WEPs, we are launching this and we are reporting on that, so you can easily use. So let me here. I'm going to share the link in the chat to make it easier for you. There you go. And I can even share my screen to show you if that's okay. But everything should have been in, you should have received in your welcome email when you became a signatory. But basically, when you go into the Trello board, you will see a page like this. Can you see my screen? Oops, not yet. So here we give you different communication templates, so you can download it and have said the company has adopted women's empowerment principle, and you can use our in support of logo and kind of tell your audience briefly about what are the women's empowerment principles. Then we have some social media template that you can use, some quote card that you can use as well, and other promotional materials that you could use. Including the banners and including other materials as well. Okay. Great. So
Yeah, thank you, Miwa, for that. We encourage all of you to use that as much as possible. Can we edit the template for so it depends. I mean, we have left our email, have we, Miwa? Otherwise, if we can put it in the chat. If you have queries specific for your company, if you're changing something, of course, your company is not called Alpha, so that for sure should be edited. We are giving these templates for you to customize. But if you have specific questions around what's possible and what is not, do reach out to us. The email is here, weps@unwomen.org. So we are happy to also answer your questions from there.
yeah,
Mhm.
on that note, a little quick. So we have seen a lot of companies finally reaching out to us, but they get frustrated. They reply to their welcome emails, which is sent from webs@info.unwomen.org, and said we've never replied. Unfortunately, if you're sending emails to webs@info.unwomen.org, we're not going to receive your email. So we don't have a way of reviewing your email because we never received it. So make sure to please reach out to the correct email address so we can help you, and we try to get back to you as soon as possible. So here is the correct email address.
So thank you. There was also a question about artificial intelligence, which is a very, very interesting one. And asking if UN Women is doing something about it. It's actually something that preoccupies us every day to make sure that we are not reinforcing gender stereotypes and biases through this AI, which we know for sure it does. So we are working with various partners to help eliminate these. And in Asia Pacific, I just saw that the deadline is over, but we have started in Asia Pacific an AI school for change makers. So I'm putting the link here. Unfortunately, the deadline closed a week ago. But if there is a very strong interest, then I see from Indira from Nepal that this is an area of interest. If you can also reach out to us and we can see if there are still openings despite the application being closed. But it is indeed and if you have expertise in this area and you would like to share it with us, we're happy to also have a targeted session on AI for all of our web signatories. And if you'd like, if you have expertise or know people with expertise, we'd love to have you. We actually had planned one for last year, but we didn't get the right people to speak at this webinar. So if you do have expertise or know of experts, please do let us know, and you can use this email that you have in front of you.
Thank you. So, I mean, we are getting a lot of questions through the chat, and I was trying to look for some questions, but again, it's quite difficult for us to pick up questions as in the chat. So please use the Q&A function if you still have any more questions for us. But I think we replied to all.
Yeah, no, there's one question about the binary approach. So we are trying to be accommodating for all regions of the world in terms of facilitating tracking of women's empowerment and gender equality. Of course, other people of other gender, non-binary people, trans people, are also important and should, if there is specific groups within your companies, they should also be considered as part of the tracking. But the reporting framework that we have is generic to kind of just understand the approach. You take that to customize it to best accommodate for your talent in your company or the stakeholders in the marketplace and community. So indeed, these are very important, and we want to make sure that we understand their needs as well. And that's why the process of consultation in developing your action plan is very important, to hear from all the different groups, including minority groups in the company, what the needs and aspirations are. Yeah, I see that there's a lot of interest on AI. So Miwa will keep this in mind, and we'll see how we can put together a webinar in fall that goes into more details on this. That's very, very good. I hear that there's a launch of an extensive WEPs plan in your factory. So on that, now when you are very ambitious web signatories, we'd love to hear your stories. We have various approaches to capture your stories. So one can be that you are reaching out to us because you think you have a story to tell in one of our webinars, which you find on weps.org/events. Two, it can be that you have would like to contribute a blog articles to community insights, or that there's any other way that you like to share your story. So it's amazing to hear that you have implemented a WEPs plan in your factory. We'd love to hear that story and all the stories that you have to tell from across the world. So yes. So please reach out to us to the email that we showed earlier, and we're happy to capture your stories. Those stories is not only giving you the kind of recognition for the great work that you're doing, but can also help other companies to understand what they could do to advance on their agenda. So I think we have no further questions and time is up. So Miwa, anything else from you before we close?
Two things. So when you're exiting the webinar, you are gonna receive a pop-up chat on the evaluation. So tell us how we did for this induction webinar, so we can improve the next induction series for next new batch of web signatories. And then we have a web deep dive series happening on gender equality and the connection between green transition of economy on next Wednesday, which is 23rd of April. It's going to happen on 9 o'clock. New York time, and you can find the registration link on our website. So we hope to see many of you over there for you to learn more about why is it important to keep gender equality and women's empowerment in mind when you are going through a green transition of economy. With that said, I will hand it over to Anna for some closing remarks. And thank you for attending today's event. So Anna, over to you.
Thank you, Miwa. I will be very brief because I know people have other things to go to. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And do please reach out to us and tell us your stories on how you're making progress. If you have challenges, we'd love to hear about them too and see how we can be helpful. If tools are missing, if a particular theme, which we have picked up today, there was a lot of questions on AI. So these are the kind of things that we listen to, and we want to make it as interesting for you as possible. I would also like to encourage you to join us for our webinar on 7th of May. It is the WEPs 101, which is the basic about the women's empowerment principles, but it's also an opportunity for you to also listen to other companies that are going through the same journey. And again, just a kind reminder for you, once you receive the survey, to please take some time to complete it. It would really help us understand your needs much better. So again, welcome to the WEPs community, and congratulations for all of you for having made this commitment. And we are here to support on your journey. Thank you so much.